Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another episode of the Popcorn Square. I am Buttons here with
Neff.
And Kage.
All right. So we're going to launch right into Marvel Needs an Overhaul, guys. So
Understatement.
this, this episode we're going to try and focus on some of the issues that we're seeing with the Marvel movies coming out now. We're going to talk about Venom 3, The Last Dance. And we're also going to talk a little bit more about some video games and things like that a little towards the end of things, as well as Wild Robot.
Yeah.
So right now, just as far as Venom 3 is concerned, now I have seen the first two movies. The first one we're seeing, did a really good job as far as the box office. The second movie didn't do as great. So the first movie was about a little over 800 mil. Second movie was over 500. But budget-wise, as far as what they're spending on these movies, is pretty consistent in the production and overall look of the movie. I haven't seen them backing off or anything as far as quality, which is really nice. This third movie, seeing the previews for it, you can tell that they're still keeping that high quality budget. What we're seeing is about 110 million on the budget for this film. So it's definitely got a very healthy budget. And graphic wise, looking at the trailer, you can see that most of what their budget is going to go towards, of course, is going to be the CGI for this. And Venom, he looks just as good as he has in the other two films. So we're not seeing a decline in quality in order to throw that budget at something else.
No, we're definitely seeing more additions because you have
Yeah.
other symbiotes. There've always been other symbiotes involved in these Venom
But this
films.
is like a ton
right,
of them. Yeah,
right,
yeah.
different variations.
Yes, exactly. So I'm actually looking forward to this film. I think that, I think it's going to do really well in box office. Venom, his character is an anti-hero. He's an alien. In this universe of Venom, you haven't really been introduced to any of the other characters that would have been in his realm as far as like Spider-Man and things like that. So I know that there's been a lot of rumors and a lot of people who have been really looking forward to seeing if they throw Spider-Man in this, because they've teased it a little bit here and there, like at the end of Multiverse of Madness, I believe it was.
Oh, yeah.
Or was it
Forgot about that.
Quantumania?
So as far as Spider-Man goes, that was No Way Home.
That was No Way Home. Okay, so right, so they had Tom Hardy there at the very end with Venom. So and they kind of just briefly talked about needing to go to where Peter Parker is. So in the case of this, again, is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? I think that's kind of what everybody is trying to figure out. And of course, they're being super quiet about it because if they do actually show a little bit of Tom Holland in this movie to kind of tie him into, possibly launching the character within the same realm of Tom Holland's Spider-Man, then, we'd have to see the tie-in with this film. And them teasing it at the end of No Way Home, it's got a lot of people excited that we might, in this movie, finally see that crossover between the two characters. I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Kage. Tell us, are you excited for Venom?
Definitely. So, unfortunately, I have not seen the second one yet. I'm still meaning to. Worst case scenario, I'm going to rent it because it's not streaming on anything I have. But yeah, I definitely want to see this one. The first movie, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good time. I thought the action was good. The jokes were good. Tom Hardy as Venom, I honestly can't think of any other person. Right. You know what I mean? He's as an actor, I think he's proven pretty good at playing the weird characters. Cause
definitely an improvement over Topher Grace.
Yeah. Oh, ooh. Bad memory unlocked. Yeah, so that was, yeah, I think it's gonna be a good time. I think the only complaint I have about Venom is I feel like any movie with Venom should be rated R, or especially Carnage. Come on. He has the most metal name ever, Carnage, okay? I feel like with these symbiotes, they really could have made something rated R, not Terrifier 3 gore level rated R, but I feel like something that can make blades out of his appendages, it's like, come on. Come on. I feel like they could have done that. But for it
His
being
character definitely is very dark.
yeah, exactly.
He
So
eats people,
He
so,
eats
I mean-
people. I mean, come on. So I feel like they kind of missed an opportunity by not making these movies rated R. But that being said, they do really well with the effects, the actors that they have. You know, for PG-13, I think they pushed it as far PG-13 as they possibly could. So I think it comes down to quality over quantity. Like they did, like if you're not gonna make it rated R, make the content
They found
solid.
a happy medium.
They
with
found
these
a happy
films.
medium.
Like I had said before, you know, I think they're kind of making Venom more of a comedian, and that's cool. I want to see a little darker spin, but like Kage said, they're trying to keep it PG-13 at the same time. So there's just so much you can do.
Yeah, interesting.
balance.
Interesting thought on that PG-13 rating. Neff, do you think that that's going to hurt the box office? Because we've seen that with other films where, you know, if you don't step it up to that R rating, you lose some audience members.
So what I'm going to say with this is because I think you'd have a great point if this was the first film and people had a specific expectation based off marketing, trailer, everything that
But
goes
since
into
the
it.
other
But
two
since
were-
the other two have been PG-13,
We know
why
what
would
we're
you
getting.
expect anything different at this point?
Gotcha.
So good question though.
Yeah.
And, you know, have you seen the first two?
I saw the first Venom. I didn't watch the second one.
Okay, so
And then I was watching some scenes on YouTube. Actually, it was when Carnage was in the prison breaking out. Woody Harrelson like transforms to break out of prison.
Yeah.
And it still wasn't doing anything for me. I was like,
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
like,
I remember when they teased him.
They can't get Carnage right.
Yeah, I remember when they teased him at first and we saw Woody Harrelson and, you know, we talked about
We did-
this.
yeah, we definitely talked about
back
it.
in the day. And, you know, we said, wait, what?
Yeah, I like Woody
Everybody-
Harrelson as an actor, but not as.
And that wig.
Yeah.
Oh, God,
So
that
then the
wig.
question becomes is like, now for Venom, the Eddie Brock in the comics. Now I haven't read the comics, so I'm not
Talk
gonna
about
lie to
that.
you.
I talked to someone about that. Yeah.
So-
so Tom Hardy is not necessarily the way Eddie Brock's supposed to be technically. But is that where you were going?
Well, not just Eddie Brock, but also who plays Carnage. You know, because okay. So as a villain, is he just outright crazy?
Yeah. Carnage
or
is
is
a
he-
maniac. He's a psychopath.
Or is
Killer.
he calm and collected? He's like really dark and psychotic. And the thing is, that question is important because when you're making the movie and you're thinking about Woody Harrelson, what type of character did he need to play? Did he need to play like outright like crazy? You just don't know what he's gonna do and he's terrifying, or is he calm and collected? But when he does something, when he speaks, you listen.
So yeah,
it scares you.
So yeah, Cletus Cassidy, he's just he's like literally a serial killer. So he's a maniac. And so
Okay.
the thing is, it's not so much that Woody Harrelson can't play a serial killer; it's his age.
Yeah.
He just doesn't have the look. I think Nick
He's-
Hoult would have been a good Carnage. We talked about that. That's the dude that
Yes.
was in the menu.
Yes.
Like, make it someone that's like younger. Like Woody
Yeah.
Harrelson, dude. I'm looking at Woody Harrelson. I'm like, this dude's like almost 60 years old. Like, it's just like, nah, dude.
It's
like,
the same argument, you know, that you have when you know, when we were talking about Borderlands, about how all these characters, it's not that the actors that they got were bad actors, it was they just didn't
Bad
fit.
casting.
They just didn't fit the age range for their
Okay.
characters. And you know, watching the second one and watching Woody Harrelson play the character, I don't think he did a bad job. Like
But
his
they could have done
character,
better.
his character was definitely interesting. His character, you know, and the development that he did for his character, you're definitely sitting there. You're like, okay, I see him as a villain. Like I'm getting where they're coming across as this. But if you're trying to stay a little bit more accurate to what his character's supposed to be, that's where you kind of run into the problem where you're like, okay, he should be like 20 years, at least 20 years younger.
Yeah, it's like
You
he
know,
doesn't need to be like 21 years old, but
Right.
you know, because Cletus Cassidy isn't necessarily super young either. But it's just like, you know, Woody Harrelson was not doing it, dude. And then he had that weird wig on. It's like, what is this?
like I said,
Like-
the wig was very
Like that's
off-putting.
that's a character they should have modernized.
Right.
Okay, that's fair.
That's one they should have.
So just real quick, we'll go around the table, and you know, before we move on to the next topic, what are we thinking box office? How is this movie going to perform? Anybody want to give a quick
Based off the
guess?
tracking information that I've seen and reported on, it has been said that this is tracking better than 1 and 2. Now, obviously, the film has to have legs. At this point in time, guys, with these films and film in general, there is no more easy $800 million box offices. If the film has no legs, you're lucky to even get to 450 at this point. I think this movie could do 680 to 750. Just based off the rumor that Spider-Man could show up, Tom Holland obviously, and then Noel coming into the storyline. But I honestly don't think Noel is going to have that big of a piece in this film. I think they're kind of going to use him like Thanos, where he's
kinda
like in
tease
the
him in there.
background because he's a
Yeah.
really like powerful character. And so you got to actually roll this out the best way you can. And the thing is, Tom Hardy has said, he could be lying here, but he said he's not coming back to play Venom. There's no more Venom films. Not that he won't be Venom, but no more Venom films. So if you
was
introduce
the same
Noel,
thing
it's kind of
with-
like...
I have one caveat to that.
That was RDJ after Iron
Right.
Man 3. So
I have one
right?
caveat to that. They can say we're never doing. I'm never being. He can say I'm never doing this again,
Right.
unless that's one of two things. A, that's a cover, because they actually have something planned to tie those together.
So it's a
or
decoy
B,
statement.
or they're leaving it open, and he really does mean But if they come back and say, hey, this
Here's
did
10
really
million.
well. Here's 10 million, and we have one movie to tie this in with it. Like, I think he would come back for that because look at Hugh Jackman. He's been out of the game as Wolverine for a long time. As soon as he comes back, he was like, I want to do this forever. Let's look at, even though I hated it, Beetlejuice. Michael Keaton recently said he would make a movie like this every year.
You make a great point. My only rebuttal to both those characters, and it's funny because you made a good comparison but missed something. A lot of the reason those guys came back, it wasn't because of the money, it was because of the people that put the film together.
Right.
I think Ryan Reynolds had a lot to do with him coming back, and I think Tim Burton
Burton,
had a lot
yeah.
to do
Fair.
with it. Where Tom Hardy, there's nothing there to
Okay,
really...
that's a fair point.
Outside of just money.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't you take an extra $10
but I'm
million,
just
dude?
saying, bottom line is I don't believe that statement. I'm
Think
never
he's
doing this,
bullshitting?
and I don't. He might not be. He might not be because, like, from his
But
knowledge,
never say never.
Never
Right.
say never. He's saying, I'm not doing this, I'm done. And it's like, okay, you're done for now. And if they and honestly, if they say if this is where it ends, I'm cool with that. But if they turn around and say, oh, by the way, we have this secret side project that we've been working on to tie this with Tom Holland, everyone, myself included, will go to the theater to see that. I want to see
I'm
at least.
done for now because we already filmed the other movies in secret.
Well,
He's like, we already got 2 in the pipeline. You just don't know yet. So yeah, I'm done.
or the executive. You don't know, the executives could have that in their back pocket just in case,
They always
depending on
have
how
that in
this
their
goes.
back pocket at Sony.
Because-
Let's think about Sony, Kage. All they have, right, and Venom kind of came up into the forefront later on there. All they have is Spider-Man and Venom. They have nothing else.
True.
So this is their bread and butter, dude. You know what I mean? Why not double down? So I see what you're saying.
So
for
yeah,
sure.
I'm not believing that for a second yet. But it's going to be dependent on how this goes. Is this going to beat Deadpool Wolverine? Absolutely not. It's not even in the same stratosphere.
So what is your prediction then for
box
what the box office?
I'm gonna probably say 400, and that's on the generous side. That's
less
super
than
realistic,
the second
though.
one.
He's being
Well,
realistic.
yeah, and I did look that up because just like Neff said, the first one made 800 mil, and then the next one, the sequel, made 500. So the last one, even if it is the last one, I think it's going to do well. I think it's going to put butts in seats, but ultimately, the audience has seen
Do you think it has to do with what I said as far as the Spider-Man stuff? Like if Tom Holland pops out, you think that's going to get the word of mouth to get people like, whoa, that happened? Like,
Honestly, if
that's what it's contingent
I
on.
mean, Spider-Man, when they brought in the other Spider-Mans, I think that really lend more to getting more people coming in and be like,
that would
Andrew
100%.
Garfield and
Get into what do you think if that happened?
If Tom Holland comes into play, if they find a way to like even like strongly hint that, I believe that's a wild card. That's a wild card right there, because I just said 400 mil on the high side. Okay, if Tom Holland shows up, that could change that. That can change that, and that'll change that'll change what's his name's tune, who just said who just said I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to.
Tom Hardy.
Tom Hardy.
Yeah.
And it's like, again, the public audiences love it when you tie in other things. Audiences love it when you bring back old actors, just like we said with Spider-Man. Nobody could have predicted they were going to bring back the old Spider-Man, and that movie exploded in popularity just because of that. So when people saw the Spider-Man movie and it had that little after credits thing, people were like, oh crap! Like I got that got people excited. Now, if you left before the credits roll, you wouldn't. When the credits roll, you wouldn't seen that.
Yeah,
but,
I'm sure they was all over YouTube and different.
I mean,
well,
that's the curse of the internet, unfortunately. And that's a separate discussion entirely.
I'm just saying that I'm sure for those people who are interested in this movie, I'm sure there's just as much content out there where they're like, they had teased and they know about the tease. You know what I mean? Like it's already out there. For most people who, were fans of these films, I think that they already are aware that there's the potential.
Oh yeah,
teaser.
always that for sure.
And you got and that tease right there is a part of the curiosity that's going to put butts in seats. People, generally speaking, like the first two films, and they're going to see this because they just simply want to see how it ends. But they also want to see because people do, and I have seen people talking about on YouTube, on Reddit, people were talking about it. Hey, remember that little after credit scene where Venom shows up at the end of Spider-Man? It's like they're planning something. But I think it's going to depend on how this movie does. And this movie, and just a little cherry on the cake here, if they add a little scene with Tom Holland, I think that'll be enough for people to get excited. It's like, oh crap, I want to see a movie bringing these two. I know I do. I would see that.
I hope Noel does not get Gore the God Butcher treatment.
Yeah.
What do you think, Buttons, as far as box office, bud?
Oh, okay. So box office for me. So I'm actually leaning really close to what, in between both of yours.
Like 5 something.
I'm thinking maybe in the high 5, low 6. And again, I do think it will make a difference with whether or not they bring Spider-Man into here. Watching the second one, it was not as good as the first one, but there were parts of the second one that I actually enjoyed more than the first. You get a little bit more play with Venom in the second one, and you get to see like his evolved character. Now, by evolved character, I just mean like, in the first film, he's very unaware of how humans interact and what they do and everything else. In the second one, you bring him into like this kind of weird love bromance relationship with Tom Hardy. So in that sense, to me, his character development was very interesting and funny, the way that they did it. Now, I don't know if maybe that was what turned people off to the second one. Me personally, I enjoyed the dynamic between the two. I think it's very entertaining, their interactions with each other. So with this third one, I'm hoping to see more of that same interaction. But bringing in Tom Holland, I think would definitely launch this movie much higher to where it could do that 800. It could hit that 800 mark. If they bring him in there in a solid, cameo or a solid like part of like the ending maybe, or like you said, if when they start interacting with Null, like if they actually can bring some cohesion
Yeah, yeah,
to
for
where
sure.
to where you're definitely going to be like, yes, I'm definitely going to get this new film with this crossover, and it's going to be epic.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, Venom, Carnage, all these symbiotes they are tied to Spider-Man.
Right.
So I feel like it would be a huge disservice and I
If they didn't
understand.
ever do it.
Yeah, because I understand that. I mean, Spider-Man has had so many solo movies now at this point, and he's totally solidified as a character. Between being in all the being in the Avengers movies and whatnot. And yeah, you got to give the villains their own shot, but there needs to be a point where you have to show them. Everyone and their grandmother knows that he is connected to Spider-Man. He's got to make an appearance at some point. So it would be a huge disservice to the studios, to the actors. It's like, come on, just do it. Just do it. You're
the
so
audience.
close.
Yeah.
But
to the
what
audience.
did
Loyal fans.
yeah what did Ben Stiller say? Do it. Do it. Do it. You're so close. Come on, Hollywood. Just do it. Come on.
Both
Get
you
Tom
guys are
Holland.
going to be watching Venom.
Yep. Definitely going to
Hey,
see
I'm
Venom.
thinking it's getting closer. I might have to watch it.
Uh,
We'll see.
I'm gonna
I might be something I watch the week after it comes out.
Yeah. Speaking of things that watch the week after, so this is actually, I think, Wild Robot.
Yeah, talk about it.
Guys, I talked about this in one of the previous ones where it was kind of like, it came out of left field. I didn't know, what this movie was even about until like a month or two before it actually came out. And I was like, oh, that actually looks interesting. So I did go and watch it. I loved it. I thought it was a very cute kids movie. And for those of you who have, that love those family movies, that love DreamWorks, DreamWorks Animation Studio, I mean, I remember watching when they were very, just coming out and making a name for themselves. And of course, most of you who know anything about DreamWorks, they broke away out of Disney. A lot of them were old Disney animators that kind of broke away from Disney after they got, disillusioned with the direction that Disney was going. And DreamWorks Studio has put out a lot of really good, quality films over the years. And this one for me, Wild Robot, I'm not going to give too much away about the story. When I first saw the previews, I was thinking very much along it looked like a big combination of like Wall-E meets Iron Giant meets like kind of a open season kind of feel almost to how they presented it and everything. Because you got this wildlife, and then you have the robot, and the story is very much where she's the wild robot Ross is this character that she wakes up not where she's thinking that she's supposed to be. She's a robot that was designed for human assistance, like she's like a handy robot, like she can run your groceries and do cleaning around the house and, basic repairs and stuff like that. And she finds herself out in the wilderness with no jobs to do because she can't speak to the animals and the wildlife that are out there. So she teaches herself, she learns how to speak to the animals, and then she goes forth and tries to find tasks to complete. That's her whole thing. She's like, my programming is, being a helper bot, and I need to help people. And the only people around are these animals. So she learns how to communicate with them, but they're all scared of her. And, rightly so, because why would an animal be like, oh, robot, that's my friend?
Yeah, they don't know what it is.
Right. So, throughout the movie, you see her grow to become not just this mindless robot, but you see her develop feelings and kind of an intelligence, and how to interact with these life forms, basically, that, we've humanized. We've seen this before with most, animated movies where, yes, these are animals, but they've been given human characteristics, feelings, qualities, all this other stuff. And it's got a lot of really good jokes in it, guys. Like, it is very, very kid-friendly funny, but also has the adult jokes. So, and not like Shrek adult jokes. They're not like the super suggestive adult jokes, but it's still the humor that's there that adults will appreciate. You know, might go over the kids' heads, but they're gonna get it. And there's even some parts where I'm just like, man, that's dark. Like, as a kid, I'm sure it would go completely over your head, but as an adult, you're like, wow.
You gotta put something in there for the adults.
Like, it's dry humor or dark humor or things like that. But, you know, me and my boyfriend, we both were watching it and we laughed at so many things. But there were so many scenes, little things in there that they throw in there for the adults that you're just like, man, that's great. Like, you know, I'm enjoying this as an adult, even though it's probably targeted closer to like a 6 to 10-year-old range as far as the rest of the content of it. And it does have the feels in there, and I love me a good movie with some feels. So DreamWorks is really great about that, in the sense of that it reminded me the most in terms of the feels from like How to Train Your Dragon, that series. So if you guys are looking for a movie that's got the feels and it's got comedy and you can take your kids to go see it, I highly recommend this movie. I gave it a 7.5 out of 10 as far as my score on it, which I think is very generous, especially for kids' movies, because they don't always have the best storylines. You know, they've got some cheesy jokes in there or some simple laughs. But this one actually had some heart to it. It actually gave me, like I said, it gave me the feels. And, I'm not ashamed to say that I shed some tears. So I think Disney and a lot of these animation studios like DreamWorks, they can find a way. They can find a way to get me to feel the feels. Then I feel like it's a good overall movie. Real quick, budget on this film was about $78 million, and so far this would be, I believe, the second weekend.
It's at 111.
Yeah, it's at 111 million, so it's already been greenlit for a second film, which, animated films don't expect it to come out next year. It's probably going to be 3-4 years down the line before we see Wild Robot 2, just because of the animation taking its time. We could see it sooner, but my estimate is probably about 3 years before we see the second one. Unless DreamWorks is just floundering with projects and needs something to push out. Right. But if you look at traditionally how many years are between animated films, 3 to 4 years is pretty common for sequels. But
very good review.
Yeah, speaking of going into sequels, next topic. Should Marvel stop making Disney Plus shows? Like, should Disney Plus kind of back off on that whole...
Yes. Just straight up.
Simple, straight to the point answer from Kage there.
Right.
We have
Just
Agatha all
straight up,
along
yes.
on the streaming platform right now. Mixed
Right.
reviews about that.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll get more numbers after the show, has gone through its paces. But, we've talked about Marvel. Anybody that's been paying attention to Marvel and Disney Plus, it's watered down at this point. They're putting out way too much content. And on top of that, the content is not high quality. So it's bringing the brand down overall. A lot of these shows cost upwards of $200 million plus each. It's a lot of money that's being spent. Every time they put out a movie that flops or a show that doesn't do well on the streaming service, you see Disney cutting jobs a month later. So it's having an impact on other people as well, which isn't fair to those people. You know what I mean? So I thought that was a good topic to bring up. What do you guys think about Marvel overall with their Disney Plus streaming? And putting out a show basically every 6 months. They said they're going to cut down, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I personally, when they first started making the shows for Disney Plus, I really enjoyed WandaVision.
Yep.
I really enjoyed Loki.
It's probably one of the two. That's probably their two most successful Marvel shows.
Right, and
You
I did,
low key like them? Thank you for coming here all week.
But I mean, I did give a fair shot to the Hulk, the female Hulk.
She-Hulk,
I did give a fair shot to the Winter Soldier, Captain America and Winter Soldier. And we're going to talk about that Captain America 4 movie that's going to, come out next year, I think. Yeah. So honestly, those two, I could not make it through the whole series. And I feel like with the other two shows that I mentioned, they do have a little bit of wokeness to them, but not nearly as bad as Captain America and Hulk. I don't mind a little bit of agenda pushing because Disney does it. Disney has been doing it for at least the last decade, if not longer, with, pushing an agenda of some kind. And I'm not saying that, they have no right to, because we're seeing it across Hollywood, across all the studios. We see a little bit of that push. I just don't want it rammed down my throat.
Yeah.
Like, make your point and then move on with the content. Like, I don't need it every 5 minutes in a show or a movie, or for the movie or show to be completely centered around it either. So, I'm not adverse to morals in movies and shows. I think that that's actually a good thing to teach, kids and even some adults, to remind them of the things that they should be, kindness and human decency and respect and all of these things that, we, over the entirety of, film history, we've seen them push that kind of societal expectations on people. So it's really not a new concept or a new thing that they're doing. It's just, right now with the political climate and with, the overall climate in general for how it's integrated into films, games, music, media, all of any platform that they have that they can launch it off of. It's becoming, in my opinion, a little overwhelming if I'm just trying to sit down and watch some basic,
Because you're
lighthearted.
getting it from all angles.
Yes.
And it builds up.
Yeah, so I feel like if Disney wants to continue to do a push for Marvel stuff, it's like, look at what your audience is telling you as far as what's the successful shows, what the content is that's doing well versus the ones that are not doing well. And don't just try and say, oh, it's because these people are prejudiced or these people are racist or these people are, they're just not getting the content because they're too stupid or they're unwilling to be to
Unwilling
be flexible.
to change.
It's their problem. It's their fault for not liking our content.
Right.
As opposed to,
Good point.
them having their own opinions about what they want to watch and then saying, I don't want to watch this for these reasons.
We're seeing,
Right.
we're seeing that across the board in entertainment. We're having the exact same thing going on in the gaming industry as well.
And let's get into that, Kage. So that's a topic for us, discussing the game market, the video game market. So go on to what you're about to say.
Okay,
We're going to hit that right
that's,
now.
I mean, that is
And then we'll end with Captain America.
that is a huge can of worms right there. And actually, real quick, before I go into that, one thing I do want to say, before I forget, is that, does anyone here remember Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Oh,
That
the
show?
the
So-
agents of,
so-
yeah.
So
Oh, they
that
also
that
had
was on.
Agent Carter too.
Okay, well, Agent of Shield. Well, Agents of Shield was on ABC, and it was a Marvel show.
Right.
I actually enjoyed it. It wasn't around very long, but I think that's a good thing because Disney keeps pumping this stuff out continuously, and the market is oversaturated, and it's not special anymore because you keep making.
Well, didn't
But
they have some issues with one of the main actors in the show?
they've had a lot of issues with multiple actors in the show.
Well,
from
I
the
meant,
great,
meant specifically the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think one of
I don't know. I did watch it for a little while. I kind of fell off, not because it was bad, but just other stuff came up and I never went back to it. But
Gotcha.
but it was a Marvel show, not
Yes.
on Disney. And
Right.
I really enjoyed it. And I think because it was just 2 seasons, that kind of makes me enjoy it even more because it wasn't like bombarded. Okay, now we're coming up with new. That was on a separate network. That was on not on Disney. So the question
well,
is,
ABC is Disney though.
well, plot twist, folks.
I just bring it up
it
because
does.
that
Okay,
was,
that's a good
was-
point. I didn't know that. I didn't
yeah,
know that.
Disney, I believe, had already acquired ABC at that point.
Man, Disney, get it together. Yes, but I feel like that show was better than the stuff that's on Disney's.
It wasn't a platform show.
Yeah.
It was made for
Right, and so you could
regular
do-
television.
My I don't know if it's a question as much as it is a statement. I wonder how these shows would do if they were on a different network. I mean, it's still a
I mean, if
Marvel
they were being
property.
produced by a different network as opposed to being like under the Disney
Under
umbrella?
Disney, but a different studio. Kind of like 20th Century.
Yeah, like I wonder how these would
You
do.
could just do more.
Yeah, I wonder
It's
how they
Disney,
would do
but-
then. But yeah, just wanted to say that. As far as the video game industry, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. There's a lot of fighting, and I really hate saying that word because it has a lot of negative connotation to it. But the wokeness in that, there's no way to avoid it. You look at the Star Wars series, how Disney's handling that. People are pissed off because like that's not how Jedis are. That's not, and rightfully so. I'm not a huge Star Wars buff myself, but even I am like, that's pretty glaring, the stuff that I'm seeing. And so the people that criticize that are, if you have an opinion against that, you are a bigot. You are absolutely a terrible human being, blah, 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 blah. They're saying the exact same thing about gamers right now. So we have games that are coming out where they're changing the characters, they're changing the look of female characters, and people are catching on. They're like, wait a minute, that's not how this character's supposed to look, And then if you say anything, oh, you have a problem with how, like, not all women look like that, or not all characters look like that, and we need representation. I'm like, I've been playing games my whole life, and let me tell you something. I don't care about representation. I care about, are the graphics good? Is the story good? Is this character cool? Do they have cool powers, cool abilities? Do they have a cool lore?
How do the game mechanics work?
Yeah, how the game mechanics work. Those are the things I care about. Whether a character is female, male, a human, a robot, I don't care. All I care about is the game fun. And that's really what, and you're talking about entertainment. I don't care how you consume your entertainment, but like when it comes to gaming, that's really the bare bones of it. Is like, is this fun? So when you start making a game, and you start putting it, you can tell the agenda is there, because the quality of storytelling has gone down. The technology is still increasing as time goes on. Graphics get better. That's totally a thing. But even though the graphics are getting better, technology is improving, we're seeing kind of a backslide. So right now in trending, gamers are predominantly going back to older games. They're starting to be a little more cautious when they drop $70 because games have gone up. For years, $60 was the average price of a game. Now it's 70. In about 10 years, who knows what it'll be. And
That's if you're not buying special editions or season passes.
that's not even special edition
Yeah.
or season passes. That's
Well,
just
what
the
I'm
rate.
saying. That's what I'm getting at. So for those people who are looking at some of these games going, I'm going to be buying that season pass. I'm going to be getting the special release edition because I'm excited to have, collectible figurines or box
Right.
set pieces or anything like that.
So-
And those are going, well over, $100 to $150 and
So-
more for some of these things.
So to kind of talk about some things, because this could actually be 2 episodes or more. This is a very dense topic. So case in point, let me think about this. There's a game that was trying to think. Okay, there's a game called Ghost of Tsushima, for example. Came out set in feudal Japan. Got a lot of awards for being historically accurate. And funny enough, it wasn't made by Japan. Japan loved this game so much that their historical, like representatives from their historical society awarded Sucker Punch, who made the game, and and said, "Wow, you guys did a great job at getting our history down, and everything." And so recently they announced Ghosts of Yote, okay, and a lot of people, myself included, got really excited. We're like, wow, okay, cool. We're coming back to the Ghost universe. It's not called Ghost of Tsushima, so it must be a different area. And so you look it up, and it takes place 400 years after the events of the first game. So obviously it follows a different hero now, because the first one followed Jin Sakai, a samurai, whatever. This one, it has a female antagonist. Now, that does not bother me one bit. Again, if the gameplay is good, the graphics are good, story's good, I'm all for it, And I got really excited. But then I started seeing some negative commentary online. I'm like, game's not even out yet. You people are already hating on it. So what's going on? Well, let's dive into it. Here's what's going on. The main character, they use facial scans, okay? So they use real people, okay?
Not uncommon.
Right, especially nowadays. They're doing
Right.
facial scans
Yeah,
and
they're
stuff.
trying to get that more realistic look.
Yeah, and
The
it's
best
working.
way to do it, is
Yeah.
using little
So, because
face markers
Yep,
for
for
expression.
mocap and
Right.
everything. And so technology is improved in such a way that we can do that, and it gives games a very cinematic quality to them. And so anyway, I don't remember her name, but there's an actress who is playing this, who's going
The
to be
new
the voice character. Diving into it a little bit, it turns out that this actress is transgender. The other animators behind the studio are all gay or transgender, and now it's starting to paint a different picture. And now it's starting to worry gamers, myself included. Because now that we're seeing all this, does that mean... Now, I should preface this by saying, do I care that you put a female character in my game, even as a main character? No. Do I care that transgender or gay people are in these games or work on these games? No, I don't care about that either. But when you start when I start seeing that your game that's supposed to be it's supposed to be a historical game, and it's like, well, we're telling a story about a samurai who felt downtrodden, and because of their identity or something. Like, if they start pushing a story like that, then it's glaringly obvious that you're not trying to tell a story about Japan, historical feudal Japan. You're actually trying to tell a story about this agenda.
Something that's more modern term.
Yeah, and it's like, and at that point, you're doing your own thing.
So I see where you're coming from as far as if it's going to touch on something that would not be historically accurate for the time period. I will say that, having a strong background in drama back in the day, and this is worldwide back in the day, most of the time, women were not allowed to be actors, or actresses in this case. So most of the time, only men played all the roles. So if there was a female, it was played by a man. And this is true in Japan, that you would have had a male actor playing a female character, and that, of course, the ones that were more feminine looking were more successful in terms of their careers. I don't think that's the story they're trying to tell, though, with your game. If that was the case, then great. Then sure, it's going to be a little bit more historically accurate, but only if they actually make the character male first, and then explain.
Well,
that
there's two sides of it. You got the people that are upset that you made a sequel and you're not pulling the same character. And I'm a little upset, but 400 years has gone by.
Yeah, they're
So
not going to be.
it's to be understood that, okay, we're taking place in a different prefecture of Japan, in a different age. I get it. I'm on board. I'm flexible, whatever. But then there's the other side of the people, and I'm in this camp, where I'm like, I'm kind of skeptical now. Like, I'm reading all this background stuff, and this individual has been known to post some pretty hateful things on Twitter.
You
About
mean content creator?
well,
Or
the
gaming?
actress,
Oh, the actress.
the
okay.
actress who's doing being this character for this game has a history of attacking white men online, being brazenly just racist, saying some pretty bad things that you shouldn't say on the internet. You know what I mean? Especially when you're in a public face. You know what I mean? Like, dude, that can affect your career. Watch what you say online, folks. You know,
Right.
whether you're an actress, a singer, a comedian, watch what you say. And it breaks my heart that I have to say that for comedians, especially, because comedians, if you can't laugh, what are you doing, people? You know. But
So the main thing that you're trying to get across as far as the video game market is that we're seeing, you know, a push towards non-traditional gameplay that's being influenced by.
That's the worst part. It's not even the gameplay, it's the narrative that's being pushed in these games.
Right.
Okay, let's flip it. So there was a game that came out recently called Concord. It was a hero shooter. Hero shooter, I compare that to Overwatch. If you have a set of characters, it's a shooting game. Each character has their pros and cons, their strengths and weaknesses, things like that. Never in my life have I played a game that I cared that this character represents me, or their pronouns, or who they love. Like, it's a video game. I play Doom to kill demons. I play to shoot demons.
Customization in some of these games has, in my opinion, gone overboard in terms of, you know, yes, a lot of people like customization of their characters. Like they want to pick the eye color and the hair color and the body build, or
And
you
you're
know,
talking
things like
about
that.
things that you can see.
Right,
So
right.
yes, I completely get. I think that's really cool. We've been
Well,
doing it in gaming for so
Yeah,
long
I
now.
think it's gone a little bit overboard, though. If I have to spend over an hour creating what my character looks like, that's a bit much in terms of customization.
that right there, that's subjective,
Well,
because
I mean,
some people will
I
say,
mean, like their armor and stuff that you get later on in the game, sure. But I mean, just starting to play the game, like when you're just like, okay, I just want to launch into the game, and it's like, nope, you have to do all of these different facial features.
well,
you know, adding in stuff
that's a separate topic altogether, because
Right, but what I'm getting at with what you're saying, though, is that, you know, customization is fine. We're fine with customization of characters, but how much customization do we need to enjoy the game?
right.
You
So when you say customization in a video game, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Appearance, what you can see. Maybe you can say what powers the characters have,
Oh,
what abilities
I've
they
had
have.
voices.
Voices,
pitch,
okay. Anything that you
things
can
like that.
see and hear should be things that are customized, okay? But their pronouns, I can't see a pronoun. Who they love, I don't care. Who they have sex with or whatever, what they identify as, and any of that, I don't care. That holds absolutely no bearing in my $70 purchase. Absolutely none,
Well,
and it
even-
shouldn't.
Even with that, you know, most of the games that we have in these larger, you know, open world gameplay, and that is, you know, it doesn't, the gameplay,
Yeah.
the game mechanics don't care. They don't care if you pick, you know, or
Yeah.
as far as which character you pick to have sex with.
Because
they don't care.
yeah, but
or
like,
marry or start a
and if you
family
have
or any of
games
that
where
stuff.
where sex is a part of it, then I can see where that kind of matters. But even then, I don't play, much less
Most
care.
of those games, I don't think that they have limitations on that, though. I don't
Well-
think there's a whole lot of games out there. But, you know, going back to what you were saying, though, as far as, you know, giving your characters pronouns and that, I don't understand where that comes into play, because most of these characters, they don't tailor the text
Yeah.
around that. You know, most of them are gonna, you know, you're gonna have your basic story. Sometimes they have a scripted thing, and again, with like tone in that, I've played some games where you can pick the voice how the voice sounds of the character, so that when they're speaking, you're like, oh, this person has a high-pitched voice or a low-pitched voice, or, an accent sometimes even. Like, oh, this one sounds a little bit more British or whichever, a little more
Well-
American. But again, all of these things don't change the basic script of the
Yeah.
gameplay. So if they're like walking up to the shopkeeper and they're like, hey, shopkeeper, I want to buy some stuff, they're not going to be like, oh, I wish, only address me, barkeeper or whatever, with my pronouns. My
Yeah,
pronouns
yeah,
are
that,
this.
that doesn't come up.
My pronouns are this,
So-
that, and the other. So you want to sell me some goods?
I want to see what's in Grand Theft
Yeah.
Auto 6 because of that.
And we're gonna talk about that when that comes up.
So yeah, that was a really good conversation, and I think we'll have damn near a whole episode on just where video games are going in general.
Yeah.
Because I think it's really one of those beefy conversations we could have. We're actually going to put off the Captain America 4 conversation off to a little later, because I think that's going to be a conversation in itself, and I think that'd be a conversation that we could have with Venom as well, and then we can kind of theorize where we're going with this new Avengers and the new phase that's coming in. But yeah, Captain America 4 is going to take us some time, so we'll talk about that on another episode, guys. But I think we are going to continue this video game conversation in another episode in the future. So we have a lot of content, and this is why you guys should be listening every week, because every week we have something cool to talk about and our perspectives are honest. So with that being said, does anybody else have anything?
I was just going to go ahead and say, let us know what you guys are thinking about for Venom. Are you guys going to go see it in theaters? Did you watch the first two Venoms?
Get your buckets, get your popcorn buckets.
What's your prediction as far as Spider-Man coming into the
Yeah, we wanna hear.
into the movie?
Yep.
Do you think he's going to show up? Do you think he's not going to be there? And again, with what we've talked about with Disney, do we want more Disney Marvel shows, or do we think that they're kind of going on the out and less is more? And anything that you have to contribute about the current state of video games, that's certainly something we could roll over into that future episode. So please comment, like, and subscribe, and let us know, what kind of content you're looking for as well, if you have any suggestions. And as always, I am Buttons, along with
Neff,
and,
Kage.
and be safe.
be safe.